Hey, it's Alec with Lover Fighter Writer, and welcome to this Systeme.io tutorial on how to use the Systeme.io landing page builder. So just before we get started, let me quickly explain what a landing page is. A landing page is basically like a very short funnel, which is a kind of website. I know there's a lot of people say that this is this and this is this, and they're not the same thing. If you think of a website as just a place for people to go online to learn more about you that you control, a funnel is the same thing. The difference between a funnel and a website is that a funnel can have multiple different purposes. They're often there mostly to inform, whereas a funnel really has one purpose, and the purpose of the funnel is always to create conversions. So whether it's a sales funnel or a opt-in lead funnel like we're going to look at today, the purpose of the funnel is to get people to take a certain action, whereas websites can have multiple purposes. Sometimes they're just there to inform, sometimes they're just there to to get you to look at blog posts, whatever the case may be with a website. But if you're thinking to yourself that you need a website for your business, a landing page and or a funnel is going to be just as effective. In fact, in a lot of cases, it's going to be better. So I would really encourage you, if you don't have one and you think that you need a funnel or a website, to start with the Systeme.io landing page, because it's free, and also because it's going to be more effective and easier to set up than an entire like WordPress website or something like that. So I'm here in the funnels tab of Systeme.io. As you can see, I have one funnel already, but we're not going to look at that one. We're going to start a new one. And today, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of show how to use the landing page builder, okay? I'm not going to build an entire funnel out. We will do that in future tutorials. In future tutorials, I'm going to do a opt-in funnel, like a full lead funnel, and probably a full sales funnel as well, just so that we can take a look at how all the different things work. But today, I just want to kind of give you an idea of how web design works, so that you can create a landing page that you like using Systeme.io. So we're here in the funnels tab. And if I wanted to access this funnel, I would just click on it, but I want to create a new one, so I'm going to go to create. And now we need to name the funnel, so I'm just going to call it test. And it's asking what we want to do. Do we want to build an audience? Do we want to sell? Do we want a custom funnel design? Or do we want to run an evergreen webinar? Now, if I was building a opt-in funnel, like if it was just to get leads, I would use this. If I was building a sales funnel, I would use this. And if I was running a webinar, I would use this. But because I'm just doing a test example, I'm going to use custom. And then right here, you need to set the currency that you want to use. And you can see that they've got a number of different currencies. I'll just leave it on US dollar because I'm not actually selling anything with this. And I'll say create. All right, now you can see we've got step configuration, we've got the funnel stats, we've got funnel sales, and we've got deadline settings. Deadline settings is for things like countdowns. But let's just go back to step configuration. And of course, there's no steps right now, so it's just kind of loading. And then up here, we also have funnel settings. We have create a marketplace offer, which is where you can, if it's a sales funnel, you can actually put your offer on the Systeme.io marketplace so that other people can promote it. And then we have this view funnel button. So the first thing we need to do is come over to the left and click on create step. And we'll give the step a name. I'm just going to call it test again. And then we need to choose the type. This is important. So it's for an opt-in. So with an opt-in, you can have a squeeze page, which is a page that's supposed to squeeze your audience and make them want what you're offering more. Then we have inline form, which is an inline form just means that it's a form that's in line with the page. So it's a form that's built right into the page. We have pop-up forms, which is of course a pop-up that asks for people's information. And we have an opt-in thank you page. Under sales pages, we have sales pages, order forms, thank you pages, upsells and downsells. And with webinars, we have registration page, thank you page, broadcast page, and then under MISC, we have an info page. So if you're trying to make like a full website on here, you might want to add an info page or two. But we're going to go with an opt-in squeeze page. And I'll say save. And now it has loaded in all these different templates for me to look at. And so this makes it really easy to find something that you like and just design you just kind of take one that you like the looks of and then you modify it a little bit to make it your own. And so I actually, I mean, there's a number here that I like, but I kind of like this one. I tend to like landing pages that are very simple. I usually go with a single column landing page, which is what this is. And usually it's just a landing page with a little bit of information and a call to action, which is exactly what I have here. So you can click on the preview button to do a live preview of the page, but I think it looks good enough. So I'm just going to say select. And so now it has added, see, you can see over here, test squeeze page that's been added to my funnel. You can see here we have the name under step configuration, and we have the URL path. So I can change these things if I want. So if I want the URL path to be my LP for my landing page, I can do that. And then I can click save right here, and it's going to save that. And now I've just changed the URL of this page. And I can preview the page. Actually, let's do that. So I'm just going to click view funnel step. So you can see I can actually, it automatically opened the pop-up. And looks like there's no way to close the pop-up, so we're gonna have to try and change that. Anyways, that's what it looks like. And then in order to edit the funnel step, I just go right to edit page. This is saved. Oh, and this is an important feature, is Systeme, unlike a lot of website builders and funnel builders, Systeme.io does not autosave. So if I hadn't hit save after I changed this step, then that wouldn't have saved. And anytime that you go into the editor and change stuff, you need to make sure that you hit the save button there. So let's open edit page. And as you can see, there's a save changes button right here. So every couple of minutes, it's a good idea to hit the save changes button. It might autosave actually in addition to the save changes button, but it's just a good idea to make sure that you're saving on a regular basis so that you don't lose your work if something crashes. Because it wouldn't need to be Systeme that crashes. Your browser could crash, or you could accidentally hit the close button, and then you'd be out of luck. So the first thing to point out is that web pages, whether it's a website page or a landing page or a sales page, anything like that, they're all broken up into columns and rows. And you might have noticed that earlier I said that I tend to prefer single column pages. So if we look at this page, columns go vertically and rows go horizontally. So if I hover over this, you can see that this is a row. Everything inside of this is included in this is one row. If I come up here, I've got another row. If I come down here, I've got another row. And we also have columns. So I was saying that this looks like a single column, and it is. If I look at that, you see how everything on the page is kind of encapsulated in the one area? That means that this is just a single column going up and down. And then a section is what includes everything. But if we go down here, it looks like this is two columns. See, we have a row and then another row right beside it. And the only way that you can have two rows next to each other is if you have two columns. And then you get these rows that are smaller, and you can manage your content differently this way. So even though this is, then it actually goes down to three columns right here. And generally in web design, you can use like 4 or more columns if you really want to. But as a general rule of thumb in web design, it's usually best to use 3 or less columns, because otherwise it starts to get very busy and crowded. And you really need to know what you're doing in order to make it look good. And since we're not necessarily expert web designers, I'm certainly not an expert web designer, but I'm capable of making a good looking landing page with a nice builder like this. So the way to do that is just to keep things simple. All right. So the way that this works is if I have nothing selected, okay, I just selected a section. So if I click off of everything like this, then over here on the left, I have elements and I have blocks. Blocks are entire blocks of content that are pre-designed like these. You can see I can add like an entire section, or if you go to elements, then you get individual elements. You have text elements, heading elements, lists, media such as images, videos, carousels. You can add columns, as I was saying, you know, they go up to 4 columns. If you were to custom code your own website or use a more flexible builder, you might be able to add 5 or 6 columns, but I wouldn't recommend that. In fact, I would recommend not using the 4 columns, sticking with 3 or less. And as I said at the very beginning, I actually kind of prefer single column layouts myself because it just makes things a lot easier to design. And to be honest, kind of a lot easier to look at. Then we have forms, we have social buttons, which you don't necessarily need to add on a funnel page because it's just kind of distracting from the purpose of creating a conversion. And then we have other, you can add a countdown, you can add a menu, horizontal line, you can add an HTML embed row, and you can add a frequently asked questions section. So that's where you get new elements. As for the elements that are already on the page, you might have noticed that when I'm hovering over things, we get these coming up. So anytime that I hover over something, if I click, it's going to give me on the left the properties of that element. So I just clicked on a text element. Now I can modify the text. But if I was to go over the entire row and click, now I have the elements of the row that I can modify. I can add a margin, for example, and that's going to move the row down a bit. Or I can add to the bottom, and that's going to move down the content beneath it. I could add a background image right here if I wanted. That would just be a background image for this row, but I don't really want a background image. I kind of like my backgrounds to be fairly plain. And of course, if you want to change text, you just click. You can double click to highlight, and I can put my name in. And so that's kind of the basics of how both how web design works in general and specifically how this landing page builder works. And then if we, over here on the left, we have settings. And in here you can edit things like, you can see font size, line height, and also important stuff is down here, the search engine optimization features. So this is the title of the page is what goes in the, that's what will appear in search engines if someone's seeing your page in a search engine. It's also what goes at the top of the tab. The description is the meta description that appears in the search engines. And then keywords, author, social image. The social image is the OG image, which is what shows up when someone shares the link on social media. And then you can hide it from search engines, which is automatically ticked, or you can untick this and it will be published for search engines to find. And then also very important is the tracking code. You can see here you can edit header code and edit footer code. And when you do that, you just get this little code pop up, and you can put in any code that you want here. So this is important because this is where you would add in your Google Analytics or your Facebook Pixel or any other external tracking software that you want to use. So that's a pretty key feature. And again, you just find that by going to settings. And then by going to pop-ups, you can add a pop-up. We're going to need a pop-up because this doesn't have an inline form. Remember, I said an inline form is a form that's embedded right in the page. And we can scroll all the way down. We only have button CTAs. We do not have any forms. So we need to have a pop-up form. So I'm going to go to pop-ups. I'm going to say add pop-up. And it just added this nice little pop-up here for me. So again, it's really easy to change this stuff. Usually, I mean, you can just say subscribe, but most people won't subscribe if you just say join my email list, unless you're telling them that like you're going to give them a lot of really good relevant information via email. So usually I will say something like download my free digital marketing guide. And I'm going to do a video later about how to create a really good lead magnet. So this wouldn't be the best lead magnet, but just as an example, let's say that's what I'm going with. Then we've got the form input. If we click on this, we can select the input type right here. So do we want to ask for email? Do we want to ask for first name, etc.? If I change this to first name, then I would need to add another form input. So because we've changed this email input to first name, now we need another input there in order to capture the email, because otherwise we wouldn't really be able to get people's contact information. It wouldn't work. So we have first name, and then if we go over to, if we just click off and get our elements back, and then we scroll down, we actually have a form input element. So I'm just going to click and drag this right into my pop-up. I'm going to put it below the first step, and then I'm going to click on it and get its properties. And so you can see here it doesn't have a type. So I'm going to say email for this one, and the placeholder can just be email. I'm going to save the changes because now I've done a little bit of work on this page and I don't want to lose it. All right, so now we've got our pop-up, but we also need to modify the settings of the pop-up. So I'm going to scroll down, and you can see you can do a lot of different stuff. You can round the corners more. You can change the style, which this is the style of the border. This is the shadow. But the really important stuff is what it's visible on. So item visible on desktop and mobile, you can change that if you want. So right now it's visible on both desktop and mobile, and you can say it's only visible on desktop, or you can say it's only visible on mobile. But I would recommend just having it on both, because you never know what device someone's going to visit your page on. And if you don't have it, then they can't opt in. All right. Also very important is editing the pop-up settings. So you can see it just has this nice button right here. We click on that, and so I don't really know why it does this, but it has this thing where it automatically has the close button set to off. I think that that's really bad user experience. I think that if you have a pop-up and it's not immediately obvious how to close it, then that's annoying, and it's likely to make people just close the tab, because it's like, okay, if I can't just close the pop-up to get rid of it if I want to, then I'm just going to close the tab. I do that all the time. If people have too many pop-ups, or if I can't get rid of a pop-up easily, I'll just close the tab and go somewhere else. Because that's the thing about the internet, is that whatever information you're looking for, it almost definitely exists in multiple places. So you need to create a good user experience, have a close button on your pop-up. And then you can see, you can also set things like when it opens, does it open automatically, or does it not open automatically? I'm going to say off for that. And then open on exit intent, I'm going to maybe say on for that, because I kind of like exit intent pop-ups. And then if you want to, so you can't really do exit intent on mobile, but if you want to have something similar to that, then you can add a timer right here and say how much time you want it to go up to have before it goes off. And I'm just going to save again. And then I'm just going to click off of this pop-up so that it goes away. And we'll just go here. And the last thing that we really need to do, even though this isn't like a full landing page build, again, this is just a tutorial to learn how to use the builder. But the last thing that's really important, I think, is that you trigger the pop-up. So if I click on this button, you can see up here in its settings, currently the action that happens when it's clicked is that it opens a URL, which would mean it would go to another page on this site or on a different site. So I don't want that. I want it to show a pop-up, and then the pop-up I want it to show is going to be pop-up number 2, which is the one that I made. And I probably should have renamed that. It would make it easier to tell which is which. And then everything else I can just leave as it is. And I'm just going to hit Save Changes, and then we will leave. And so now we can see I've got this page that I designed right here. And if I was doing a whole opt-in funnel, which again I will, but I'm already at 20 minutes, so I want to wrap this up. That's basically how you use the landing page builder. In the next system tutorial that I do, we will work through how to actually build an opt-in funnel. So we'll make a landing page that'll have some actual information on it, and like maybe an actual lead magnet, and then that'll take them to a thank you page or a bridge page, which is really key for creating a effective opt-in funnel. But let's just take a quick look at this page that we built. So I'm just going to hit View Funnel Step right here. And as you can see, I've got this pop-up. It's still opened automatically for some reason. I'm not really sure why. Okay, we've got 2 pop-ups. So I'm going to fix that. I'm just going to close that. I'm going to go back to Edit Page. I'm going to go to Pop-ups. Take a look at pop-up number 1. Okay, so I don't really want pop-up number 1, so I'm going to get rid of that. And then pop-up number 2, we will take a look at it. Then we're going to click on it, or edit pop-up settings. So we've got the close button turned on. Open pop-up automatically is turned off. And we've got it opening on exit intent. I think maybe it opened the last time because it thought I was trying to exit. Anyway, so we're just going to save this, and we will leave. And then I'm going to preview it again. Okay, so we've got this here. And as you can see, the pop-up did not open this time. I can open it by clicking the button, and I can close it, open it, close it. And if I try to leave the page, it's not going to do anything. Okay, let's take one more look at this really quickly, see if I can figure out what's going on here. Pop-ups, pop-up number 2, edit pop-up settings, open on exit intent is on. Okay, we're going to save changes, and we're going to leave. And then we will preview the step. Okay, so the exit intent isn't working for me. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm going to take a quick look into that, see if I can figure it out. And if I can't, I might just let support know just in case. But that's not really that important. What's important is that it opens when someone clicks the button, and then they can fill this out. And just one more important thing. Again, this isn't supposed to be a full tutorial, but just because it is kind of important, we'll go to pop-ups. We will view the pop-up. Go to pop-up settings, and then we just need to click on the button. And when you go to the button, part of the settings is what happens when the button is clicked. So it's important that you go to send form. And then you also, because send form just means it's going to send the data to the back end of Systeme.io so that you get the person's information. So that's really important. And then for what happens, you can choose next step, custom URL, or no redirection. So you could just keep them on the page, but what we're going to do when we do but when we do a specific tutorial on how to build an opt-in funnel, you're pretty much always going to send them to the next step. Because anytime that someone opts in on a landing page, it gives you an opportunity to redirect them to either an offer or to a thank you page or to a bridge page. So you pretty much always want to do that. So we're just going to say save changes and leave. And now we've got our landing page built. And so that was just a super simple basics, just covering the basics of how to use the landing page builder. In the future, I'm going to do a tutorial on how to build an opt-in funnel and how to build a sales funnel using this software. But hopefully that was enough to kind of get you going, to show you how it all works, and to show you how easy and fast it is to build a landing page. If I was not talking and explaining things and doing things over, then this probably would have only taken 5 to 10 minutes to put this together, and another 5 to 10 minutes to add my content, and then my page would be ready to go. All right, so let me know if you have any questions, and I will catch you in the next video.